Alright, hello. Today, this is the first installment of the Michiana Shooting News' Roundtable discussions. Today's guest is Sheriff Brad Rogers of Elkhart County. Sheriff Rogers, hello, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for, it's good to be on the show today.
I think let's let Tim, you take the first question.
Okay. We know that you were elected and then re-elected as a constitutionalist. Do you still hold your constitutionalist views and beliefs?
I do. Sorry about the phone. I was elected in 2010. Haven't been re-elected yet, but
okay.
hopefully that's next year. Maybe hopefully that'll happen. This whole issue of having the constitutional high in its importance is it kind of evolved over the course of time. I've been a police officer for going on 28 years. I've been here at the Sheriff's Department for 26, and I didn't, when I first came out on the road, I didn't always think the Constitution. Yeah, I took the oath of office and all, but I had that foundation, and I tried to learn over the course of time. The evolution occurred through my years on patrol, and I saw things like Ruby Ridge and the federal government intervention there and how they messed it up, and then the Branch Davidian complex in Waco and how the federal government involvement when a sheriff could have handled it much with less destruction and so on. And then the cooker for me was Hurricane Katrina, when during that there was a gun grab, mostly by the locals, but kind of sparked by the federal government. And again, you're seeing the liberties eroding, and so I campaigned as a sheriff. I was the only candidate to say, I'm going to uphold and defend the Constitution. I'll be a guardian of the Constitution. And I think that among other things, rang true to people, and they appreciated an official or a candidate that would actually say those kind of things. But then, of course, is living it. And so, as a sheriff, I've tried to, in a number of different ways, tried to defend the Constitution and really be kind of a buffer for the people, kind of an interposer, if you will, for the people, between the people and the federal government. And don't misread me, I'm not anti-federal government. I'm not looking for a fight. There is a place for them, but if they stay in their place, I'm good. It's when they get out of their place is when it causes problems.
We recently covered the Women on Target and program over in South Bend that they put on. And it was Corporal Ken Ryan. During his talking point, he brought out rifles, and he's like, this is what they consider an assault rifle. This little lug right here that a bandit can affix to, it's an assault rifle. This flash hider is something, and like a lot of women were like, so it's just the furniture? I was like, that's right. And then he goes on talking about the Katrina, and then talking about how they just came in and took everyone's firearms that they had them, and he put out a big thing. I saw a lot of like light bulbs turn on when he was like, just because I have a firearm, don't put me in the same category as all the crazy people out there.
Exactly.
I'm not like them, don't put me in the same category. And then, like, him and I during discussion, we always said, well, that'd be like, okay, we're going to ban cars because there's so many drunk drivers out there. That's exactly what they're trying to do with this. And from the videos we saw of you, I don't think you would be someone who would be willing to, if they say, oh, we need to grab all the guns in this area.
Well, this is why it's important to have. A lot of people don't think local government officials can do much, or that there's, they sometimes during elections they focus on federal elections or state elections. But this is a classic example of having elected a sheriff who is constitutionally vetted and minded that for the people, and has his oath of office in mind to protect and uphold the United States and Indiana constitutions. That there's just things that can be buffered and held back, And the tendency for federal and state government to head towards tyranny is always can be put in check by local government. And you know, we may get into some additional examples today, but it's just very important to keep the sheriff elected. There's a movement in this country and in the state to do away with the elected sheriff, to have it appointed by a county executive, and that might be elected by the people. And then, you know, can you imagine the perfect good old boy club that could be set up with that, and have a sheriff accountable to someone else, something akin to a chief of police accountable to a mayor. Again, you have a chief who has a very important task, but he's appointed. He's not accountable to the people directly. The sheriff is. And so it's very, and the sheriff has jurisdiction in the entire county, even though there may be chiefs of police in this county. So it's a very important task and position, not something I take lightly, and I'm not haughty about it. It's not something, you know, I put my britches on the same way you guys do. You know, I'm just a man. But I have an important task to do.
Well, let me expand on that for just a second then. In discussions I've had, and maybe you can clear this up for us, and clear it for the public too. As a county sheriff in the state of Indiana, my understanding from what I've read of the laws of the state of Indiana and the Constitution of the state of Indiana, now this was explained to me, so please let's get it out on the record and get it right. From what I understand, the state police of the state of Indiana are the legal law enforcement agency of the state of Indiana. They are the first chartered police department of the state. That the county police are a second jurisdiction of that because you represent the county. You represent Elkhart County in this case. Okay, you have a legal law enforcement function as county police officer and basically a servant of the court, essentially. What I fail to, am I right so far? Let's stop there.
Well, in your scenario, you paint somewhat of a subordinate view. So what we need to get away from is that each one of these are separate entities. The state police is really funded by state funds. The city police are funded by city funds, and the county is funded by county funds, which everybody in the cities even pay into. And the sheriff is the highest elected law enforcement officer in the nation. And so if the state police could, this isn't the scenario here, but if the state police maybe would get out of hand here, or the sheriff could step in and say, whoa, not in my county. And so in the same way with the federal government, same way with municipal departments, fortunately in our county we have a very good working relationship, not only with the state police but the municipalities. And again, we're not looking for a fight, we're looking for cooperation. But when it comes to protecting people's rights and to dealing with constitutional issues, and the sheriff can step in and say, oh, that's enough, we're not doing this.
Okay, good. Well, then that sets a lot of that aside. You know, do you want to expand on anything? Because I think the next question is going to be a really important thing to go with from this. Okay,
Go ahead.
we'll go on to the next one. All right. With the current trend of politicians and elected officials taking their oath of office and quickly breaking their oath, what are some ways you can assure us that you take your oath seriously?
Well, it all starts with the leadership, and you know, as I admitted earlier, when I was a patrolman, I didn't always, you know, we in police work, we call it being sworn in. You know, when you get sworn in, you have arrest authority by law, and it's very important. Well, nobody goes back to where did this oath of office come from? And I believe it's Article 6, Section 3 of the Constitution. It talks about the oath of office. See, our founding fathers knew that this Constitution that they put together was had some weaknesses insofar as that us humans were the ones to play it out. And so they knew over the course of time that there could be evil men, there could be people who make mistakes, trip up, you know, just not necessarily uphold the Constitution that was created. And so they created something called an oath of office. And that oath binds these individuals, these public servants, including a sheriff, a mayor, chief of police, any police officer, anybody who's paid with public funds. Typically it takes an oath of office. Most people don't even have a clue what it means, because one, they haven't read the Constitution, and two, they don't know about oaths. See, we don't teach kids about oaths today. You know, we're very flippant with our word, and it used to mean that, you know, a handshake with another man, that was a binding document or binding contract, and we don't teach that today. So it's imperative that leaders like myself lead and help people, help the subordinates and the people around the community what an oath of office is. So I've been they're probably sick of hearing it, but I believe in the oath of office. And so when I took the oath of office, I made it a big deal. I took it in circuit court by the circuit court judge, had my hand on a Bible, my wife and kids were there, and the media was there. It was a big deal. And then I made a change within this department that all the officers that are below me that take an oath of office, and all the police officers and limited deputies that I have take that oath of office. You know, your secretaries, your mechanics, they don't take an oath of office because, you know, it's not really necessary. But the people who have police authority take an oath. And in that, we used to, with new employees and existing employees, when they redo their oath, we used to go to the clerk's office, and nothing against the clerk. They're great. They're a necessary position. But we would go in there, we would raise our right hand, and some clerk would say, you know, read it off, and then we would sign the document with a pen with a flower attached on the end of it, you know, and that was it. You got sworn in, and you know, there was no pomp and circumstance. There was no explanation, and so today, my new employees, I make a big deal out of it. I go to circuit court. The circuit court judge, I'm there with them, and I take the oath with them, and the circuit court judge gives the oath, and their families are there, the media is there. I explain what the oath is, where it stemmed from, and what it means. And you know, when we take the oath of office, we don't swear to write speeding tickets or arrest bad guys. Well, we all know that within the state law, that's part of the duties of a sheriff, and the duties of a sheriff are many. But the oath of office doesn't say anything about that. It says, I, Brad Rogers, promise to uphold and defend the United States Constitution and the Indiana Constitution to the best of my ability, so help me God. And that is the extent of it. And that oath, we oftentimes, we walk out of there, law enforcement and others will walk out of that room forgetting what they just did. But I keep it, it's in our core values of our department. If you see it on our website, it's in our mission, our vision statement. It's just the way we do business. And the Constitution is extremely important. And we need leaders that are in place that will emphasize that kind of thing to get us back to reminding us, what are we doing here? It's not just, it's not just, to harass the public or anything like it. No, we're here to protect the people and to protect liberties and to uphold the Constitution. You may get discouraged when you get a traffic ticket, but public safety is something that is important out there, and that doesn't mean we don't have quotas, we don't write tickets on everybody. In fact, we give probably half warnings and half tickets, when it comes down to it. But it's the type of thing that we have discretion, we can enforce the law, and something that just recently came up was the Second Amendment, and I said, I think we don't have to enforce all these laws, and the media was outraged with it, but it goes back to the oath of office. What are we going to do? Are we going to protect the Constitution, or are we just going to do the whims of any legislature or judge or anything else? And we have to not only think for ourselves, but the Constitution was written for plain men to understand. And so it's very simple, and it behooves leaders like myself to remind law enforcement. And I've tried to set the example that will hopefully light a flame that will keep this burning even beyond my term limits, that this is an extremely important task.
Okay, very good.